bring you some rowing, the first rowing final that we're going to see of these games at Strathclyde Park near Glasgow. It's the men's eights. Chris Baillieu and Jerry Sinstadt ready for the action.
And a very exciting final we think we have in prospect for you, Desmond. The eights already down at the start, and that's the lane order. Lane 1 is nearest to the camera, that's Wales, Australia in 2, Canada 3, England 4, Scotland 5, and on the far side in 6, New Zealand. That's Wales in the red strip. Marvellous collection of all sorts here. Only one of them actually based in Wales. Next to them, Australia. Favourites for the gold medal here.
If you want to let them know, we should be going live with instructions.
Canadians, who have a young crew, all in their early 20s, still to prove themselves as an 8.
Lane 6, back and forth. Keep coming,
England, crew that was brought together a month before last year's World Championships when they finished 7th, and who have been very impressive this year, but were beaten at Lucerne by the Australians.
You're not going to be able to reach them.
Scotland with an 8 that is the culmination of a programme of selection and training that began nearly 2 years ago, and certainly the best 8 that Scotland have ever had. And in lane 6, a very interesting unknown quantity. Composite crew from 6 New Zealand clubs who are racing for the first time.
Lane 3, you want to go back 6 inches.
Time before the start for a comment from Chris Baillieu.
This has the makings of being a fascinating contest. The only form there is the result in Lucerne 2 weeks ago, when Australia managed to narrowly beat the British 8, and Britain will be looking for revenge in the form of England when they race here today. The New Zealanders have a tremendous reputation in 8s. They've won medals for many years in this event, and so they must be the dark horses in every sense of the word. Here's the Australian 8, the favourites for this event on the basis of their recent performances.
Australians have twice won gold medals at this event in the Commonwealth Games, and twice silver.
Martin is lane 5 on the skew. Yes.
Crew that was selected in April at the end of the Australian season.
They're proud of the start line by about 4. Oh no, they're coming back now.
Conditions a lot better here now than they were 45 minutes ago.
6 inches.
Commonwealth Championships
Lane 6,
for men's 8. On lane
England
1,
coxed by Vaughan Thomas.
on lane 2,
Jonathan Spencer-Jones at stroke, and the experienced
Canada. On lane 4, England.
Richard Stanhope at stroke, and Jonathan Spencer-Jones
And on lane
bar.
6, New Zealand.
Lane Martin
View
is
from
lane
above.
straight, isn't it?
Lane 5 is on the skew.
Just to remind you that that red strip at the bottom there in lane 1 is Wales, and then it goes Australia, Canada, England, Scotland and New Zealand.
I will start you in the following manner. I shall say, are you ready?
Last instructions down at the start.
Lanes 3 and 4, back 3 inches.
Sit easy.
Stop. Lane 5,
Bow's upraised arm indicates that they're not ready.
stop. The line are ready.
The view across the course that the aligner has to make sure that all the bows are absolutely dead level.
The line is still okay.
Adjustments there just by
Lane
an
2 is
inch
on
or
the skew,
two.
Martin, is that correct?
Lane 2 and 3 are a bit askew. but I think they want it that way.
Hearing their instructions on headphones from the aligner.
It'll obviously come around while you're going through your start procedure.
Wales, ready? Australia, ready? Canada, ready? England, ready? Scotland, ready? New Zealand, ready?
Everybody ready. Australian stroke is getting the balance absolutely true. Deep concentration now. The start of an 8th race, one of the great sights in any sport. Wales in the background of that shot just then, with their cocks in the bow. And now who will get the crucial good start? Conditions 3/4 of an hour ago were very difficult here, but skies clouded up and a lot better, but we've had a false start here and they're being called back.
Just checking it out on the video.
Red flag from the umpire's launch.
We're just checking out. There's more than one, Martin.
But it sounds from the advice down from the start as though there may have been a couple of offenders there.
Anyway, it's a 1, 1, 4 and 5, I think.
So that will add to the tension now, because 2 false starts mean a disqualification. Right, well, it's going to be a while before we get them back onto the start and get them aligned again, so perhaps you'll join us again in a few moments.
Takes a little longer than getting horses back in the starting stall, that. So we'll pull away and show you what happened on the athletics track a little. Oarsmen are ready to get the 8s underway properly this time, we hope. Jerry.
Yes, I think, Des, if you had 8 jockeys on a horse, it would take us long to get them back in the stalls too, but I think we are ready now, and it was the 3 home countries who were all penalised for a false start. Wales in 1, England in 4, and Scotland in 5, so they can't afford another mistake. Scott's not yet ready. 6 previous occasions when this event has been contested in the Commonwealth Games, and England, Australia and Canada have each won twice. Reminder of the lane order: Wales nearest to us in red, Australia, Canada, England, Scotland, and on the far side, the famous black vests of New Zealand. It's the Scots who are having the problems. And England likewise not ready. This is always the difficult start. "48 oarsmen and half a dozen coxes" gives you a few permutations for possible problems.
Are you ready?
Well, that's New Zealand. Way before the start, and it looks as though Canada have followed them.
Return to start, please.
Well, Desmond, looks as though we are in for a little more manoeuvring here yet.
We'll stay with you, I think, Jerry, because we'll watch the fun of the manoeuvring round, I think. Which is never easy, is it?
It's certainly not, and as you can see, that although the conditions are not as bad as they were earlier, there's still a very brisk breeze down there, which clearly doesn't make things any easier. Chris Bailey, you've been through all this and will know what the problems are.
The difficulty really is that you have a boat which is 55 feet long and a strong cross breeze. It's extremely difficult to hold it completely straight for the 10 or 15 seconds it takes to actually get a crew off. As you've seen, that there are endless permutations, and if one's straight, another one may well be blowing in the wind. I think what will happen now is they'll probably use a changed method of getting them off the start. Instead of calling them all through, they'll try and order them off as quickly as possible.
On 5, 4, Wales.
Oh, while we're waiting, just have a look at this Wales 8, which seems to me to be entirely in the spirit of the Commonwealth Games. Michael Nativ, the only one of them based in Wales at stroke, son of a Russian father. Robin Roberts at 4 is a 29-year-old who's making a comeback after 10 years. Ivor Lloyd at 5 is a 36-year-old who's in the Guinness Book of Records for the fastest crossing of the English Channel in a sculling boat. It was a great effort for charity in 1983 that raised £22,000 for Great Ormond Street Children's Hospital. There's the son of the team manager, Nicholas Hartland, at 7. He's also got a sister here in the lightweight 4s. And Michael Partridge at bow has represented Wales 11 times, twice as cox.
Jerry, there's no great advantage in having a blistering start, is there? I would have thought that rhythm was more important in that particular sport. I can't imagine why they keep full starting.
The importance of the start is psychological as much as anything else. Now, Australia in particular have a reputation for getting out fast, and none of the crews actually want to be left behind. The object is to get into a rhythm as quickly as possible, but nobody actually wants to give away half a second off the start, because that could be the deciding factor in the race. In good, clean conditions, this is no problem, but in this crosswind, it's very, very tricky to get them off.
There's no barges for them to bang into anyway, Chris, is there, down there? Like the boat race the other year?
Yes, no obstructions, we hope. Just might be the odd swan. We saw one or two of those arriving yesterday.
It's interesting that at Lucerne, where the Australian 8 led from start to finish, their two fastest split times were the first and the last 500 metres, which they did in both cases in about 1:21. So we'll look for their time here and see if we can make some comparisons, although comparisons between one event and another in rowing are always a bit dangerous because conditions are never quite the same in two places, and
Having said that,
Lucerne has a reputation of being a very good course.
Having said that, Jerry, can I just ask Chris how the last year's or this year's Oxford and Cambridge crews might fare against these, to give us a comparison of standard?
Well, of course, there are in fact 2 of this year's Cambridge crews sitting in the English 8. And in the spring, the Cambridge 8 were actually marginally faster. So I think they would be behind, but I think they'd certainly beat perhaps Wales and Scotland, who probably are not quite in the same class as the other 4 crews. I spoke to the English coach, and he's certainly hoping for a good row here today. Well, let's hope it's third time lucky.
Off you go, boys.
Just a reminder that Canada are the current Olympic champions, and they have half that crew here, but not in the 8. They're rowing in the coxless 4.
Are you trying to get the pop-up buoy again, Scotland? Okay.
Just one more run through the lane order. Wales nearest to us, then Australia in 2, and Canada in 3, England in 4, Scotland in 5, and New Zealand on the far side in 6. Pretty cool here for July. The New Zealanders said that it reminded them very much of their winter. I think it's reminded virtually everybody of their winter. And that looks like another full start, and that's Canada.
Return to start. This is New Zealand jumping. That's the second time.
Well, this must be really beginning to get trying. One full start sometimes actually has the effect of releasing pressure quite substantially, but once you get to the third or fourth start, everyone starts to get really quite jumpy. All one can say is the premium will be on starting on time, because the whole field will have had a full start before much longer. I was speaking to the coach of the English 8 yesterday, David Tanner, and he was telling me they certainly want to try and hold on to that Australian 8. And in Lucerne, they slipped in by about 3/4 of a length at the halfway, and today they're looking to stay within that margin to have a real chance of beating them in the second half of the race.
Several of these crews, of course, will have in the back of their minds that we are only 3 weeks away now from the World Championships, which will be a rather sterner test, of course, than we have here, because then the big guns from Eastern Europe will arrive. The Americans will be there.
Well, I think there's every chance that at least 4 of these crews, meaning that New Zealand, England, Australia, and Canada, will actually be boats in the final at the World Championships at Nottingham. And we'll probably get a clear indicator of that during the race, which we hope will start very shortly.
Well, there's the New Zealand 8, very much an unknown quantity. They've been training for 10 weeks at Lake Karapiro, where the 1978 World Championships were held, and then flew here to add the final polish, but this is the first time that they've raced. Massive crew, the 4 men in the engine room in the middle of the boat. Gibson 6'4" and 14 stone 11. Simon 6'8.5" and 15 stone 6. And then O'Brien and Burrell both 6'7" and 15 stone 10.
Right, lane.
I'm not awarding a full start.
Lane
I'm
3
simply
back.
indicating that it would be helpful if you waited for the word go.
Lane 6 back 3 inches.
Tact and tolerance being exercised down at the start.
Line
Nobody
good.
penalised for that third false
Have you got
attempt
your
to
boy,
get us away.
Have you got the boy, New Zealand? Canada? Attention. Are you ready? Go!
Well, New Zealand certainly were very close to anticipating that start, but I think that by that stage we really couldn't call them back yet again. So we are this time off and racing. Wales in lane 1, Australia in 2, Canada in 3, England in 4, Scotland in 5, New Zealand in 6, and the bow showing in front at the moment is Australia's. The favourites, crew selected in April at the end of the Australian season, have been working at the Australian Institute of Sport and showed their class with a victory at Lucerne a couple of weeks ago, where they beat West Germany and Great Britain. But New Zealand also showing on the far side. Well, it's developing already into a very good race between the 2 eights from down under, Australia and New Zealand. Gold medals in 6 previous Commonwealth Games regattas monopolised by those 2 countries and England. But it was New Zealand who had the advantage at the 1,500 metre mark. That's 1,500 metres to go. Time at 1,500 metres was 1 minute 27, which is about 6 seconds slower than the Australians were at Lucerne, but in very different conditions. It's New Zealand first. Just in the foreground there, the bow of the Australian boat.
It's clear that the dark horses of New Zealand have shown themselves at last. This is a reverse of the tactics they've employed in recent years, where they've tended to hang back in the middle of the field. They've gone right out from the start. The Australians struggling to hold on to them. Looks as if the New Zealanders have run out to nearly the best part of the length.
Well, we've lost somebody from the Welsh boat. So Wales with real problems in lane 1, the real race between New Zealand and Australia. Halfway, New Zealand by about half a length from Australia. Then Canada and England close behind them, and Scotland in 5th.
The water's picking up. You can see how the waves are breaking over the boat now, and it looks as if Australia are beginning to close on New Zealand. New Zealand came off the start very fast indeed, and Australia seem to be rowing a well-placed wave. Look at those waves as they break over the riggers. It's the metal parts on the outside of the boat which hold the oars. New Zealand seems to have responded and are pulling out a bit more.
New Zealand have had a lot of financial problems in raising the cash to bring their squad here, and their crews are very much aware that they're on trial here in order to justify going on to the World Championships in Nottingham.
Look at that rough water. You can see those waves breaking over the crews there. It puts a premium on good, clean rowing, because if you struck the waves with the oars, you're quite likely to catch a crab and end up as the Welshman did, in the water.
But Australia now
coming over there.
Australia now coming back at New Zealand.
This appears to be a two-horse race. Australia coming right back on New Zealand.
Australia nearest to us, New Zealand on the far side, and really nothing in it at all. 500 meters to go.
I think
Australia
England coming
in
up
the
to
yellow.
challenge.
The first 4 all taking closer order.
It's the Australians who are pulling out in front now, and it's a question of whether New Zealand can hold on to an English challenge which is coming up fast. They've got about a minute to make this challenge and get up with the New Zealanders.
So it's Australia first, nearest to the camera. New Zealand second on the far side. England battling back in 3rd. And England have come through with a very good challenge in the last 500 metres. And there's still work to be done here for the Australians. 250 metres to go. Australia first. Nothing now between New Zealand and England. And a brave sight now as they come up with about 200 metres to go. England applying the pressure. New Zealand beginning to crack. Australia pulling away, and it looks as though it's going to be gold for Australia, but they are by no means home and dry yet. England still putting in a tremendous burst. Australia first. England now marginally in 2nd. New Zealand in 3rd. Canada 4. Australia are going to get the gold, but England will get the silver. Coming to the line now. Australia win. England take the silver, and it is tight between Canada and New Zealand for the bronze. Tremendous race, Chris.
Yes, a fantastic race, and a beautifully timed burst by the English crew, which brought them right back on the field and took them through the New Zealanders, who were fading badly in the last quarter of the race. We wait for the results to see whether, in fact, that Canada got past New Zealand as well. It was a first-class race. We will shortly see the Welsh crew coming over the line without their bow pair. Clearly there was some accident earlier in the course, and they lost not just 1 man, but 2.
So, gold medals for the 3rd time in the Commonwealth Games for Australia. Silver for England. And a photo to decide who will get the bronze.
We'll update that for you. Poor old Welsh lost a man overboard. I hope he's okay. Didn't see what happened. We'll have more rowing for you. We'll update that position for you as soon as we can. Let's show you what's happening at Lord's earlier in the day. And there was a photograph for 3rd place. And this is how it finished. The crew at the top are New Zealand, and 2 down from them on the white line there are Canada, who are in fact Olympic champions. And New Zealand got the nod for 3rd place. The gold had gone to Australia, and the silver to England, and the bronze medal there to the New Zealanders. And Wales finished, I think, with 6 men on board. 2 of them fell out, but they were okay. Good swimmers both. Now, some bad rowing again. This time, it's the scullers, the men's single sculls. Chris Baillieu knows all about this. He was a world champion. And he's commentating now with Jerry Sinstad.
Coming up next, the final of the men's single sculls, which promises to be one of the most exciting and probably close races of today's events. In lane 1, Canada, 2, New Zealand, 3, Australia, 4, England, 5, Scotland, and 6, Wales. The Canadian in the lane nearest to the camera, Mike Hughes from Ontario. The surprise package of the final, Eric Verdonk from New Zealand. Richard Powell, Australian winner of his heat.
Stop, lane 3, back 2 inches.
The favourite, Stephen Redgrave from England, who won the other heat.
The Commonwealth Games final of
For Scotland, Philip Kittermaster.
I will start you by saying, are you ready? Go.
And for Wales, Chris Howell.
The line are ready.
Canada, ready? New Zealand, ready?
Canada then in lane 1, nearest to the camera. Then
Ready.
New Zealand, Australia, England, Scotland,
Ready.
and Wales.
Scotland, ready? Wales, ready?
Everybody ready?
Are you ready? Go!
And Redgrave goes out.
Start is good.
The start is confirmed as good, and it's Verdonk, the New Zealander, who takes a small lead at the start, which comes as no surprise. He set the fastest pace for 500 and 1,000 metres in his heat. The question about Verdonk will be how he'll withstand the pressure when it begins to apply in the second 1,000 metres. At the moment, it's Verdonk who came here as reserve for the 8, but is now beginning to wonder about the possibility of a medal in the single sculls. Beyond him there, though, already showing Stephen Redgrave of England. Redgrave, who's in 3 events here, and very much the favourite for this one.
Stephen Redgrave will be looking to try and dominate this race. The back of his mind, though, is that the weakness that he has shown in the 3rd quarter of a race, and it's not in his interest to get too far in front and then find the field catching up on him. And this has been his most recent experience, where he lost in the final of the Diamond Sculls at Henley, when exactly that happened to him. He came out very fast and paid for it by the middle of the course. Now, he seems to have learned from that, and he's sculling a much steadier rhythm. And it looks to me as if he's going to try and keep his pace through the middle half of the course and just wear down the opposition. He really should be capable of winning this medal today. It's well within his powers. He's a very strong man, 15 stone 10, 6'5". He's in a field where most of the other scullers are untried.
1 minute 43 at the 1,500 metre mark, which is 3.5 seconds slower than Verdonk was in his heat. But that may have something to do with the conditions, which are not easy today. Apprentice boat builder by profession, 6 feet 2.5 and 13 stone 9. Verdonk leading for New Zealand, Redgrave second for England, and Richard Powell of Australia just a canvas behind Redgrave in 3rd.
Stephen Redgrave sculling well within his normal race rhythm of 32 strokes a minute. Verdonk is taking some 3 strokes a minute more, and he's going to find it hard to maintain that pace in the second half. This could well turn out to be a considerable duel between Richard Powell of Australia, who is a strong sculler through the middle part of the course, and Stephen Redgrave. At the moment, they're matching one another stroke for stroke through this second 500. Powell in second position, Redgrave in third, and looking back to fifth position, fourth position with Mike Hughes.
Clearly shows Verdonk's lead in lane 2. Powell just second, but nothing in it between him and Redgrave, who is in lane 4. Canada in 4th place in lane 1, then Wales 5th and Scotland 6th. Verdonk continues to hold his lead, and nothing between Powell and Redgrave. Time at halfway, unofficially, 3 minutes 34.67, so the race certainly being sculled more slowly than in the heats. But that undoubtedly attributable to the conditions.
Stephen Redgrave beginning to make a move now. He's pushing up, pushing away from the Australian sculler. He's come up level and slightly ahead of him, and he'll now be looking to make an impression and test Verdonk at this stage of the race. This third 500 is crucial in experienced internationals, and they have to be able to maintain the pace in the third quarter. I think we're going to see Stephen Redgrave beginning to run up over the Australian and onto Eric Verdonk of New Zealand. He's sculling strongly, good natural rhythm still, doesn't appear to be under any particular pressure.
750 metres to go, and you have to recall the completely different approach to this race that Redgrave has had from the other two. The season entirely different, of course, in Australia and New Zealand. Their season ended in March, whereas Redgrave has had a build-up through a competitive European season, and what a season he's had too. He's won in 5 different classes at international regattas this season.
I must say, though, it's not been the ideal build-up for a sculling event. Normally a sculler would specialise in just that. He's attempting to do something which has never been done in recent years, which is to actually achieve 3 wins in 3 events, one of them being a sculling event. But here he is beginning to close in up on Eric Verdonk, sculling strongly. He's moved ahead of Richard Powell. He's moving towards the lead position. He's moved into choppy water as well, and this is going to be a different technical exercise in the last 500 metres.
An unofficial time at the 500-metre mark, just under 5 minutes and 33 seconds.
And it's Redgrave in the lead. He's taken the lead with less than 500 metres to go. And the question is whether anybody can keep with him. Richard Powell moving behind him. I think Eric Verdonk has shot his bolt. At this stage, he hasn't got very much left.
Well, Verdonk slowed appreciably in his previous races, and it does begin to look as though Redgrave has judged this to a nicety. Redgrave leads, Powell second for Australia, Verdonk third for New Zealand.
This is going to be still a close race. There's less than a length covering the 3 boats. The question is whether Richard Powell has got anything in him to challenge Stephen Redgrave. As they come up towards the last 250 metres, which will take them approximately 32 strokes. And Stephen Redgrave's into that last 250 metres, working his way to the finish.
The order of the programme worked out nicely for Redgrave. This is Powell in second place, but Redgrave has got his single sculls out of the way today, then he's got a rest day tomorrow, and after that his coxless pair and the 4. Redgrave coming up now with about 150 metres or even less still to go, and establishing his command over the Australian and the New Zealander. England have never won a gold medal in this event. 4 to Australia and 2 to New Zealand is the history of the event. But Redgrave is now going to change that. He's now got 2, maybe 2.5 lengths advantage over Powell of Australia, and this is a triumph which Stephen Redgrave will savour. Gold medal in the final of the men's single sculls at the Commonwealth Games. Silver for Richard Powell of Australia, and a bronze for Eric Verdonk, which will perhaps have surprised him as much as anybody. There's a popular winner, Stephen Redgrave in the single sculls.
The winner of the gold medal for the men's single sculls, England, represented by S. Redgrave.
Another gold medal to add to what is becoming a very distinguished collection indeed.
Good old S. Redgrave, as they're calling him. Steve, he's in fact going for 3 medals in these games because he's in the pairs and he's also in the coxed fours as well. He's done well so far. Now, just to recap on the fact that Bermuda have finally... Sinstadt commentating.
So we've had Australia penalised for a false start, and now they're lined up to see if we can get them away at the second attempt, with Wales in lane 1, then England, Scotland, Canada in 4, Australia, and on the far side in 6, New Zealand.
I think they're having difficulty not only with the wind, but oddly enough, the English start that's given here. Normally these crews expect to be started in French. When the start's given in English, there's a positive pause between the "are you ready" and the "go." In French, that doesn't occur, so a lot of the crews are premeditating it and going, which is why they're being called back and awarded full starts. Curious, perhaps, when they think we're all English-speaking.
Seem to be no problems this time.
Good start. Mike.
England in 2 have certainly started well, and New Zealand in 6 likewise. Wales in 1, England in 2, Scotland 3, Canada 4, Australia 5, New Zealand at the top of the picture in 6. Nearest to the camera, the red vests of Wales, and behind them, the hoop vests of England. Conditions considerably easier now than they were when racing started just over 3 hours ago.
Very nice, easy rhythm set by that stroke of the English crew. He's a great asset in any boat. Strokes the English 8, Great Britain 8. Stroking this 4 today, Stuart Forbes. Nice and easy rhythm. Pulling out. This looks like being a race on 2 wings, with Australia and New Zealand on one side and England over on the other.
Well, this is the 1500 metre mark, the unofficial time 1 minute and 31 seconds, which is only marginally slower than the Australians were when they won at Lucerne on the Roadsay a fortnight ago.
It's going to be vital for the English 4 to hold on to this Australian 4 in the second 500. They're very quick through the second quarter. So we want to watch carefully to see how New Zealand and the English crew are responding to the Australians. At the moment, they seem to be holding with them. Australia have a small lead, probably rather less than a canvas, 6 feet.
That's a lead from England in second and New Zealand in third. Order unchanged. Australia first, England second, New Zealand third.
England staying well in contact. In fact, I think they're perhaps a few feet in front, just a foot or 2 in it. A very well placed race for this race. There's a good contest going on for third place there as well, with New Zealand over in lane 6 and Wales in lane 1. Certainly the Australians are not dominating this race as they did in Lucerne.
This is the halfway mark. Time unofficially 3 minutes and 10 seconds. and that is 7 seconds slower than the Australians were in Lucerne. So they haven't maintained the pace that they set off at from the start.
The English four seem to be going from strength to strength. They're putting in a spurt at this point. Increase their rate by about a stroke from 37.
So this is England in the final of the men's lightweight coxless fours, leading from Australia, but a very good race in prospect as the Australians start to come back at them. New Zealand still holding third. 750 metres to go and nothing in it at all. England nearest to the camera. The yellow vests of Australia on the far side.
Stroke to stroke, they're both taking 37 strokes a minute. Absolutely the maximum end of their speed range. They don't want to increase it any more than that. Both crews rowing well, neither giving an inch at this moment.
It's Australian four, two from Melbourne, one from Canberra, one from Geelong, where coach Jeff Hunter comes from too. This is the 500-metre mark, and there is nothing in it at all. England and Australia, stroke for stroke, with New Zealand now being pressed by Canada for third place, Wales in fifth. And England now just up on the Australians as the pressure begins to tell. Australia responding. It is going to be one of the best races of the day. A real battle for gold and silver.
And there's still only 2 or 3 feet in it, and it's still stroke to stroke. As they're going to look forward to that last 500 metres when they'll be looking for the line. At the moment, they're both holding each other off. Australia are pushing, and the English crew is responding.
Just over 250 metres to go now. England nearest to us, Australia on the far side. The crowd in the grandstand excited as they've rarely been here today. This really is a tremendous battle. England just holding on, but only by inches. Now maybe extending it to a canvas, but no more than that. Can the Australians respond once again? And England holding their form, but the Australians coming back at them. England, about a quarter of a length now, and it's going to be gold for England. England's second gold medal of the day, won for them by their lightweight coxless four. Australia second, and a real battle going on here too for the bronze, just taken by Canada ahead of New Zealand.
The winner of the gold medal for the men's lightweight coxless fours, England, represented by C. Bates, P. Haining, N. State, S. Forbes.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Gold medals then for the England lightweight coxless four. Most of their experience together has been in the lightweight 8, so this is a real bonus for England.
Second gold medal that was for England in the rowing, following Steve Redgrave in the single sculls. Let's give you a few rowing results, shall we? Australia won the women's 8s. Women's rowing in the Commonwealth Games for the very first time here, incidentally. England was second, Canada third, but the gold only was awarded. I think that's a bit churlish, you know. At least they turned up the others, and they might have come second and third anyway. However, that's my opinion. Off we go. Men's singles sculls, as I told you, and as you probably saw, Steve Redgrave won that earlier, and he's in 2 more events. Men's lightweight sculls final you've just seen. And New Zealand won the women's double sculls from Canada and England, and there no bronze was awarded. Well, who's to say they wouldn't have come third anyway, even if about 6 other countries had come? I think it's all a bit silly. I'll get the sack for this. Women's coxless pairs, Canada, England and Australia, and again no bronze medal was awarded. And the men's 8s, which was that splendid race earlier on after they had about 3 full starts. Australia, the gold, England, the silver. New Zealand got the bronze on a photograph from the Olympic champions, Canada, and, well, Wales had a man over.
It's a cross tail wind, more cross than tail. Off the start, it was not too bad, but as soon as you get past the 750, the lake opens up a lot, and there's a very nasty side wash all the way in from there. Very uncomfortable.
Was there any point at which you thought you might not win it?
I wasn't really thinking about it. I'd set some race plans that I was planning to do. I wasn't going to get worried if people did lead me, and I knew if I sort of took it a little bit steady on the first half, that if I was in contact at 1,000, that the race should be mine.
The fact that the New Zealander went out so fast didn't worry you at all?
Not really. He went out very fast in his heat and in the repechage. He did get, I remember looking around, and he was a bit further in front than I thought he was, and it did cross my mind for a minute that I wasn't going to get back, but and then suddenly he was back level with me and went back the other way, so I was quite pleased about that.
You've had this absolutely marvellous season with Henley, the one blot on it. Did that ever cross your mind today?
Well, I learned a hell of a lot from Henley. The main reason for doing Henley was so I'd get it right here. I was disappointed that I didn't win at Henley. It would have been nice to have gone through the whole season without losing. There's still 3 big races still to come this year, which I hope to do well in. It didn't worry me too much, but I was disappointed that I didn't win.
But you feel you've put that right now?
Yes, because I haven't done very much sculling this year. When I jump back into a single, it seems to go very, very easily, and I can put a lot of effort in very easily without realising until about halfway over the course, and then I start thinking, hello, I've done a bit too much here, and so I paced it a lot better today, and it paid off.
Now, according to the textbooks, rowing and sculling in the same season don't go well together, and yet you've now got 2 rowing events to come in which people are fancying you for gold medals again. How do you see them?
Certainly the coxed pairs we're certainly the favourites for. The pair this year has been very outstanding in anything we've done. So I'm very, very confident in the coxed pairs. The cox fours, we'll be in the medals, I'd imagine, but New Zealand have a very fast cox four. They're supposed to be favourites to win.
Congratulations anyway on a super victory to
Shot then.
England lead by almost 2 lengths over Australia, with Canada beginning to move up on the Australians in 3rd place. So this could well be England's 3rd gold medal of the Commonwealth Games of 1986 in rowing. Men's lightweight 4 won on Saturday, and now the women's lightweight coxless 4 heading for victory here with 250 metres to go, and clear water between them and Australia. Australia, 3rd in the world last year. Canada beginning to press the Australians. But England holding the lead. And it's looking like England gold, Australia silver, and Canada bronze. England now with 30 metres to go to the line and the gold medals. Canada pressing the Australians, but England will comfortably take the gold, and that's a fine victory for them. Australia will take the silver just, and Canada the bronze. Kind of psychological boost that spreads very quickly through a squad and will do England's hopes today no harm at all.
Good start to the day, that, for England. Alexa Forbes, Judith Byrne, Lynn Clark and Jill Hodges bringing home the gold medal. Alexa Forbes, by the way, the sister of Stuart Forbes, who won a gold in the men's lightweight coxless fours on Saturday. Other results now from out at Strathclyde. And in the men's cox fours, the gold went to Canada in a new games record, the silver to New Zealand, and Australia took the bronze. No, that's the rowing men's cox fours, in fact, when England took the gold medal. We'll be seeing a bit of that a bit later. Women's lightweight single sculls, Adair Ferguson of Australia took the gold ahead of Philippa Baker of New Zealand and Heather Hatton of Canada. And now the women's cox fours, gold there for Canada ahead of Australia, with England's Joanna Goff and Callaway, Kate Holroyd and Pat Reed, and cox Alison Norrish taking the bronze. And the men's double sculls, gold there for Canada. New games record for Pat Walter and Bruce Ford in the process. Silver for Australia and bronze for England, Carl Smith and Alan Whitwell. And the women's single sculls, Stephanie Foster for New Zealand got the gold. Lisa Wright for Canada, and Gillian
as they go through the 500-metre mark. They're now nearly half a minute up on their time in winning their heat. By that stage, Holmes and Redgrave were in fact so far out in front that they were easing off.
Holmes and Redgrave are sitting very comfortably in front of the race, and they won't want to do more than they have to win this particular race. They have the race to look forward to in the cox fours.
Now well in sight of the grandstand spectators, about 250 metres or a little more to go for Holmes and Redgrave, and this virtually a separate race for the silver and bronze. But here, beyond any shadow of doubt now, are the gold medalists. Holmes and Redgrave for England, New Zealand and Scotland, almost level for silver and bronze.
And there's a fantastic scrap going on for the second place, and New Zealand seem to be moving through Scotland. These two big international oarsmen have found pace in that last 250 metres. Great race going on. And there can't be more than 2 feet in it.
But just about 50 metres to go now for Holmes and Redgrave to take the gold. New Zealand just by about a canvas from Scotland for the silver medals. It will be Holmes and Redgrave now, and just silver for New Zealand, and the first ever Scottish rowing medals are bronze, won by Pearson and Richards. Redgrave has taken his second gold medal, partnered by Andy Holmes.
And the two of them were due to be going in the coxed fours a little later in the day, but the second gold medal for Steve Redgrave safely won in the company of Andy Holmes, and Ewan Pearson and Dave were part of the British team that won the Olympic gold in Los Angeles, so the omens were good. But it was going to be a much tighter race than anyone expected.
And the England crew rowing well over the choppy water. No sign there of hesitation. Smoothly out, hooking on that substantial weight in that crew. And they're still holding on to 3/4 of the length. And if the New Zealanders are going to make a move, it's got to come fairly soon, because they're coming up to the last quarter. That's about 1 minute 30, 90 seconds to go. And in the English four, they'll be counting every stroke. They've got to look through for that last 500.
And victory here would put England at the top of the rowing medals table in these games. At the moment, they, Canada and Australia, each have 4 golds, and it is England holding on.
And
England by almost a length from New Zealand, with Australia also in the race in lane 5.
What a race for second place as well. Australians have come right into the race. No one expected them to show quite so well in this company, but they're well up and challenging for the second place. The English crew still managing to hold on to a length lead.
Coming up now towards the last 250 metres. Australia on the far side, maybe just ahead of New Zealand for second. England now almost a length ahead in the gold medal position. 250 metres to go. England first. New Zealand just second. Australia third. New Zealand now beginning to put on the pressure, looking to see whether they can destroy England at the very last. They've got 150 metres to go. It's England first, New Zealand second, Australia third, Canada fourth. 75 metres to go. England still with New Zealand coming at them, and Australia challenging on the far side. England holding their rhythm, holding their nerve, holding their technique, and it's going to be another gold medal for England. England first, Australia second, New Zealand third, coming to the line now, and England have done it. The New Zealanders just get the silver and Australia get the bronze, but that is a magnificent victory for England and a record-breaking third gold medal in one Commonwealth Games for the stroke Stephen Redgrave. And is he pleased?
And 2 gold medals in one day. That was a record as well. So 3 golds for Steve Redgrave, 2 for his pairs partner Andy Holmes, and the rest of that triumphant crew in the men's cox fours: Martin Cross, Adam Clift, and the cox Adrian Ellison. And Redgrave's record-breaking feat put England at the top of the final rowing medals table with a total of 5 golds. Just to confirm a result that we didn't quite give you in its entirety earlier, the men's coxless fours won by Canada in a new Games record, second, and the silver medal to New Zealand, and England the bronze. Graham Faultless
were the winners.